Right everyone, Livingston versus Celtic tomorrow at the Tony Macaroni Arena. I promise you I have no pasta related puns, so let's just crack on. Penny for David Martindale's thoughts. His Livingston side currently sits 6th in the Premiership. That was at the start of the weekend. 5 wins, 5 losses and that draw at Ibrox last weekend. They've struggled to find consistency, but they are in the mix for a top 6, that rhymed, spot at this early stage of the season. Tomorrow, of course, the greatest team in the country, the champions, roll into town, and it promises to be quite an occasion. Our recent record in West Lothian is perfect. In our last 1 visits to Livingston, we have 1 victory, a 100% winning record for Celtic there. That was, of course, last season, late on in the season actually, a 3-1 victory. The day when Dyson Maeda kind of made his name, certainly the day when everyone realised that what he was good at and what he could bring to the team and why we should love him. We've kind of gone through a wee bit of a weird relationship over the last couple of months with Maeda, but hopefully he's ready to score another big goal at Livingston tomorrow. That game, by the way, also saw an own goal from Nicky Devlin and the legend James Forrest netting as well. So a repeat of that would be great as well tomorrow. Overall, it was a cracking day. Probably, thinking back, the first real moment when I believed that Celtic would win the league. I think up until that point, I believed we could win the league. Certainly when we beat Rangers 3-0 and went top of the league and then beat Motherwell a few days later, I really did feel we could win the league. But I think that Livingston victory, with all of the history that went before it, was the day when I felt we would win the league. And we really didn't look back at all. It was a massive, massive victory, a cracking day, great atmosphere, and again, hopefully more of the same tomorrow. I was obviously joking a little bit, well, a good bit, when I'm talking about our 100% win record, because when we go further back than that last meeting, which I think was in March, our record at Livingston isn't good at all. But you know all that. We covered that in depth last season. There is no need for me to go over all the defeats and the draws that we've had there. We just know that it's a very difficult place to go. And in fact, even in that victory last season, there were some kind of hairy moments. We were great that day, really good attitude, but Livingston still had a big chance before we scored. And they also hit the bar in the first half, both through the English centre-back Ayo Obilai. So he's someone we'll need to watch tomorrow. Set pieces are going to be massive, as they always are for Livingston. And we need to watch them in open play as well. I think they're a better team than people give them credit for. For example, their striker Joel Nouble is having a great time at the moment. And I think he's going to go on to bigger and better things in seasons to come. I think he's a real handful. We need to watch him tomorrow. Simply put, if we don't turn up with an immaculate attitude and a real desire to win at all costs, like we did that last game, it could and probably will be a very difficult afternoon. I'm a little bit nervous about this game, if I'm honest. I know we won there last time, but I just think it's never straightforward at Livingston, and I just really hope we can kind of battle through some of the players that we've still got missing, or certainly some of the players that aren't going to be starting the game. Maybe some of the nerves as well come from the fact that VAR is going to be in operation again. This is what we're looking at tomorrow with regards to our officials. The referee, Willie Collum, will be assisted by Graham Stewart and Daniel McFarlane, with Matthew McDermott as the 4th official. The video assistant referee tomorrow is Alan Muir, and the AVAR is Frank Connor. Just hope that the football is what we're talking about tomorrow. I think last week I was kind of up for a bit of drama. Can't really be bothered with it this weekend. I mean, don't get me wrong, if VAR wants to maybe make up for the ills of last weekend and give us a penalty that maybe isn't a penalty, then I'm not going to complain about that. But equally, I hope it's just what happens on the pitch that we're talking about, and hopefully it's a really good Celtic performance. Talking of Celtic, Ange was speaking to the press yesterday, Again, as is now the case, I think with Ange press conferences, maybe not quite as riveting as they were this time last year when we were just getting to know him and all that stuff. They've become a little bit of a drag, perhaps, with similar questions being asked most weeks. The big thing yesterday was the injury update from Ange, and the injury update is that Callum McGregor is now the only Celtic player currently missing through injury, not available for tomorrow's game. Jota, Stephen Welsh and Carl Starfelt are all back and in contention for tomorrow, while David Turnbull also returned, I think, for 6 minutes in midweek against Shakhtar. So those 4 are back. Ange did seem to suggest that certainly Jota, Welsh and Starfelt wouldn't start the match, just given that they've been out for a wee while, match sharpness, and he didn't mention this, I don't think, but I also guess the pitch would have a factor as well. I can't see you throwing in like Starfelt or Jota onto a plastic pitch when they've not played for so long. By the way, on Callum McGregor, because I know you'll be keen to know this, the update from Ange yesterday was that he seems to be ahead of schedule. Hardly a shock. I mean, remember he got the facial injury and people were saying he was out for the whole season, and he missed like 3 games, I think, and was back. So that's the one certainty with McGregor, that he's going to be back probably ahead of schedule, and it certainly seems to be that way at the moment. He definitely won't be seen before the World Cup. That is absolutely guaranteed. We're not going to see him over the next 5 matches, but certainly seems people are hopeful that he won't be too far away by the time we return from the World Cup. Those legends at FIFA given as a Winter World Cup, meaning that Callum McGregor isn't going to miss as many games. Great stuff, lads. Team news for Celtic tomorrow. This is what I'm going for, and this was one of the toughest that I've had to do. We just don't know what's coming at the moment with regards to the team that Ange picks. If I run through it and kind of stop at various points, Joe Hart obviously in goals. Back 4, I think Ralston will come in. He was great last time when we went to Livingston. And yeah, he's kind of tended to play one game and Juranovic the other at this stage. So I think Ralston will come in. Carter Vickers and Jens obviously still the centre-back pairing. And yeah, I think Greg Taylor will come in. I know Bernabe's kind of seemed to play the weekends lately, but I just actually think in a weird way that despite Taylor clearly being more assured than Bernabe at this stage, that Bernabe might be better suited to Wednesday night at the Bernabeu. Yes, Bernabe at the Bernabeu. And I think Greg Taylor's reliability, which is a terrible, terrible adjective to use when he's been so good. I mean, he's probably been our best player this season. He gives us far more than just reliability. But I do think tomorrow that Greg Taylor at left back kind of keeps that back 4 as solid as possible. Going into midfield, I know you may be looking at that choice in midfield and kind of wondering, Hamish, are you all right? Do you maybe want to talk to me? I don't really. My choice is based on the fact that Nir Bitton had such a good game the last time we went to Livingston. I know I keep mentioning that game a lot. I just have a feeling that Ange might want a Bitton type in that kind of deeper role. We're not exactly blessed for options at the moment. Obviously O'Reilly's been playing there a lot. I just get the sense that maybe for tomorrow you want a more, I know we're playing Livingston and I'm about to say more defensively minded, but they do break really quickly from midfield, and I think that's why we had so much success with Bitton last time, and I don't really fancy us being completely open. Added to that, I thought Matt O'Reilly was great the other night, but I thought he looked quite tired at the end, and he's played a lot of football lately, so I wouldn't be against that midfield 3, Abelgard with Moy and Hatate in front, but it really could be anything. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was, the midfield 3 that we've seen a lot recently of Moy, Hatate and O'Reilly, but wait and see. Front 3, I just think these 3 are kind of suited really well to the game tomorrow. Giakoumakis for me has to start. He's in better form than Kyogo, and I think even if the form had been flipped, you could argue that Giakoumakis is a better option for a game against Livingston with that physical threat. He still has a score to settle with Livingston, given that he missed that penalty against them. Was that even the last time he played against them? I don't think he played in the last game at the Tony Macaroni, so hopefully he can net tomorrow. Really wouldn't put put it past them. And James Forrest and Maida, two players who played really well on that pitch last time, I just think would be good options as well. So hopefully I've explained my working and my choices there. One guy that I didn't have in my team is Sead Haksabanovic. He was actually doing press yesterday, and I know you're shouting at the moment going, that obviously means he's going to start. There's been plenty of occasions this year when players have done press and not started the following game. I remember Abelgard before St Johnstone was a big one when I just assumed he would start and then he didn't. So anyway, Sead Haksabanovic doing press yesterday. Some interesting words about what is to come for him at Celtic after a pretty positive start. He said, "I'm not 100% fully fit yet. I still have some levels to give. Hopefully I can start helping the team with some assists and some goals. I'm playing well right now. I'm just going to continue to do that and score some goals as well. The way he plays is perfect for me." That's Angie's talking about. "I'm still new here. I still have a little bit of time to feel 100% in the team and 100% fit. I feel that they have my back and are there for me and fully believe in me. It feels good." I really like Haksabanovic. I've said that, from his debut at Ross County. I think he's really given us a fresh bit of impetus over this kind of challenging period when Jota and others have been out. I mean, if we hadn't had Haksabanovic, would we have had the same success? I think he's been really important for us. Still waiting on his first goal, I think. So hopefully he can kick on. And interesting to see him saying that he's not 100% fully fit yet. I think that bodes well as well for us. In terms of the rest of the weekend's fixtures, this is what we're looking at. Some decent enough games in there. Dundee United versus Motherwell, Hibs v St Mirren, Rangers versus Aberdeen, and St Johnstone playing Kilmarnock today. The other game tomorrow is Ross County up against Hearts. All of those games at 3 p.m, our game at 12 noon tomorrow. So a tasty weekend ahead. We'll wait and see what kind of position we're in at the end of the weekend. I hope you enjoy yourself, enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll be back with the reaction after the game.